Welcome to the Momentum Lifestyle Project podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Roos, and here at Momentum, we aim to challenge and champion committed men who are ready to take charge of their lives by mastering their mind, optimizing physical potential, and unlocking their power to find their mission. Whilst our work is predominantly with men, we hope that this podcast will provide value to all who choose to listen. So without further ado, let's jump in. Real estate guru, mentor, father, devoted husband. Today I spoke with Matt Pillios, a close friend of mine and an unbelievable man. We touched on the current state of property market, as well as how he maintains good habits and instills those into his kids. If you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share and tag us on Instagram at The Momentum Lifestyle. Any and all support is greatly appreciated. Thank you and enjoy.
Matty Pillios, the Grunt Man. Look at him. He's the health guru, the fittest agent in Australia. Probably, look at you, the green smoothie, mate. You're chugging down supplements. You're always on the go. And you've just won the 2021 Vic Agent of the Year. Mate, congratulations.
Thank you, mate. Awesome to see you. Are you in Hawaii or Los Angeles or LA? Or Vegas?
In Hawaii, mate. I just came back from LA. I'm a busy man, just traveling the world at the moment.
Mate, great to be on. And I think last time we spoke about probably 11 months ago, you were in Elwood, I was in Brighton, but we couldn't see each other. Now we're in different countries across the world, and it's absolutely a privilege, mate. And thanks for that nice introduction.
Mate, of course. And this is your second year in a row winning this award, mate. One, obviously it feels awesome, I can only imagine, but you got into real estate quite late. You weren't the standard high school into Vic Agent of the Year, were you? You've only been in the industry for about a decade, I think. Is that right?
Mate, that's right. I got in late. I was always in the sales, and I just think real estate is knowing about knowledge, but it's always about relationships and trust and knowing it. You know, you've obviously got to know your product, but really people want to deal with good people and people they trust and like. And it's about having some salesmanship, because I think these days real estate sells itself to some extent. Pictures, video, technology, people have buyers 30 to 70 have access to this, which they have access to RP data, and they have access to Googling what did a property sell for and what is selling in the area. So being a great agent is communicating well, salesmanship and upselling, and having, I think, a high work ethic and trust and honesty and transparency with both buyer and seller. And I think that, and being sort of my age group and personality and energy has helped me achieve that. But yeah, definitely, I started late at 35. I think I'm 42 now. I feel like I'm 52. With the amount of work.
And you look about 22.
Thanks, mate. But look, very humbled to win it. There's obviously so many great agents out there. Marcus Kivinello rang me last night to congratulate me. He owns our Toorak office. He said, Matt, he said, you've won it. He said, I'm obviously not allowed to win it anymore, which is true. I think he won it about 3 years in a row. Yeah. And obviously he has a monopoly, but there's so many great agents out there, but to become back-to-back Victorian Agent of the Year is a privilege. And thank you to all my clients and my team at Marshall White.
Now, is that like the Brownlow of real estate, is it, mate?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, I've only been in the industry for a while. So a couple of years ago, I saw Andrew and Kate putting applications for late 2019 for the 2020. So I went to my business manager and said, do you mind? I think I've had a good year as well, and won it last year. And it was awesome. So I think it's based on a whole combination of volume of sales, the amount of property you've sold. It could be combined with commission introduced into your business or the company, as well as testimonials and the level of service and testimonies that you got. So I'm not 100% sure, but they've obviously had Queensland Agent of the Year, New South Wales, Victoria, Australia. So a guy like Michael Kolosh, who dominated Queensland, he won that Queensland Agent of the Year. So a fantastic honour.
Mate, awesome. It is. It's great to see you, the hard work that I get to see behind the scenes being close with you. And obviously you get to be recognised. It's not the be all and end all, but it does certainly help motivate you moving forward, as I'm sure you well know. So how has the COVID year that we've just had changed real estate? Has it changed it much? Specifically Australia, specifically Victoria, what's different now than say 12 months ago?
Yeah, they're good questions. COVID has changed it a bit, for sure. I mean, what you and I are doing now, there's not as many face-to-face meetings that I need to have with vendors weekly. They're happy with a quick FaceTime now.
Yeah.
A quick video call, as we say, or Zoom. So that's helped. And the videos helped. I think what's happened is in Victoria, especially, and I think across the board, is the desirability for open space. And I think COVID, for a couple of reasons, people were locked in a confined space. So definitely people that lived in apartments or townhouses had shared roofs or had shared walls. They've come back and said, oh my God, I need my own space. I need my land. I'm going to be working from home out of my home office now. I don't need to drive into the CBD like I used to, So a lot of people have moved to rural. A lot of people have moved to Queensland. Rural here could be country towns, but generally it's been the peninsula or the Geelong coast has been huge, the capital growth. And people that I deal with in the Port Phillip and Bayside market generally have owned houses sort of across the peninsula. They've gone and lived there and sold their houses here. So the desirability for land has been the biggest thing I've seen, the biggest change in real estate. I'm 42, so when I grew up, most blocks were 600-700 square metres. You'd have an oldish house, and buyers and people your age, Dillsy, sort of mid-20s plus, now have the confidence to buy an old house and reno it because they've watched TV shows like The Block and all these renovation shows, and they're self-educated. So what we've just seen a big turn. The townhouses that were flying out of the window 3 or 4 years ago aren't flying because of smaller land. There's also, obviously, land is what is growing from a capital growth point, really significant. So the advice most people are getting from their financial advisors is buy a block, buy land. So we're getting a lot of people saying, you know what, we're going to buy that townhouse. Perfect example, I've got one in Brighton East at the moment, would have flown out the door in a good market 3 years ago for 2.3, 2.4, but best offer is 2.4. It's got a 4-bedroom, unbelievable quality. But when people start getting to that price point, they go, no, we want a block. We don't care if it's a bit older and only 3 bedrooms. We can do the extension ourselves. We feel confident. And we like a backyard. We don't want to have a sharing wall. So they're the biggest things. The other thing I could say, Dylan, is deals have been a lot faster. So the real estate market now, the old 4-week campaign, if a house is vacant, because people are self-educated a lot more and there's a bit more urgency after COVID, I think people had a lot of time to digest. A lot of times campaigns have been going for 2 or 3 weeks. That's too long. So I've had to bring auctions forward or auctions back. So, off-market deals have been quick because people know what they want.
Yeah. And that's largely due to just the information readily available to the average buyer now that you mentioned. So what's, I guess, for those listening, what does that then give for opportunities within the market? Like, where does that then make a Brighton, an Elwood, a Port Melbourne a little bit more appealing to, say, the younger demographic who might be doing well in business, and so they're like, you know what, prices haven't shot up in these areas like they normally would. There's an opportunity for us to come in and get a place in these. The old saying is location, location, location. And I think that will still ring true regardless of COVID or not, but it might just stall the growth in those certain suburbs. What are those, I guess, the benefits of them coming out?
Yeah, I think suburbs like that, like Port Phillip and Bayside, what happened during COVID was there was such a strict lockdown in Victoria, and I think you were lucky enough to sneak to America. Dylan, but it was so harsh. Mate, it was perfect timing, but it was so harsh that we only had a couple of hours of exercise. So the desirability to be next to fantastic parks. So if I think of the Northwest, they've got the Maribyrnong River, which is really nice. And I think of the northern suburbs, it starts with them, there's a river. But Bayside has, from Port Melbourne, Williamstown has the bay, and Altona and beaches through the Geelong coast, and the same with Bayside. So the desirability to be close to water and the beaches or amazing rivers like the Maribyrnong River and these other has been phenomenal. So I think people have wanted to get out of really small suburbs that didn't have that and come close to the water in some capacity. Or if it's not the water, it's the park. So, the amount of people even coming from, really good suburbs like Stonington and Boroondara, for those people, it's the Hawthorns, Glen Iris, Campbells, Armadales, Toorak, etc. into Port Phillip, which is Middle Park, Albert Park, Port Melbourne, St Kilda, and then Elwood, Brighton, East Hampton, Sandy, all the way to Blackrock Dome. It's flying because of the beach. Yeah, it's not a Queensland beach where it's a beautiful coast, but it's reasonably good. But people know that they can go there, fresh air, open space. It's really good, spiritually and mentally, and it's a game changer. So, that's been the trend post-COVID. Big land, have your own space, and also close to really nice beaches, parks, and rivers. Open space, fresh air.
Yeah, and with I guess you personally having gone through such a tumultuous year this year, and the real estate industry was rocked and had to really adapt pretty quickly to the certain things. You guys had to take a lot of things digital, a lot of digital walkthroughs, taking a lot of fewer groups through. So the industry really had to adapt or die, to be honest, especially in Melbourne. What were the things that I guess
100%.
you were able to take out of it, or what tools did you rely upon throughout the year that kept you going? Because you stayed so positive throughout the year. You stayed positive. You tried to work as much as you could, whilst also taking a bit of a stock of, okay, family time's important, and I can spend a little bit more time with family now because of what's going on. But you really did. You really do sit in that age demographic. You're 42, you've got 2 young kids to look after, you've got a wife, you've got a mortgage, and your business gets almost decimated. How did you not let the stresses of COVID overwhelm you? How did you actually manage to maintain such a positive mindset?
Yeah, good questions. It was definitely, people sometimes who don't know me will say, "Oh, look at this guy, probably had some luck or things given." I was so stressed out. Last year, for me, with 99%, I think, of the world's public, it was my most stressful year as well. It was just saying, there's only so much you can control. So what you could control is, let's make the absolute best of it. So for me, it was, I had gratitude that I'm able to have a great wife, a loving wife, and 2 kids who I love to spend time with. And unfortunately, what COVID produced is a lot of divorces, but a lot of great starts for people as well. Yeah. So the mindset was everything. Yeah. Let's do the best we can. Let's stick together. We're lucky to be in a great country, and we don't have COVID. We're healthy. Yeah. So it was really having that mindset for myself, Val, Duke, and Stella. Then at work with our company at Marshall White, our colleagues, that we are lucky. We're not in, we're not dying physically or mentally. Yeah. And it was tough mentally, but we're not in a war like our grandparents and great parents were, where they were told to go and fight, as a soldier and from their workplaces. So it was really that mindset first, and then staying fit and healthy as much as you could, and doing the stuff that you cannot do during the day-to-day hustle. So family dinners, watching movies. I remember growing up with kids and would watch videos, movies with your parents, and the same thing, playing. Uno was a game, Duke, Stella, and I and Val would play, and just little things like that we haven't really done. I started the kids with boxercise and just that. So it was really just staying positive, staying close and tight, and checking in on everyone. And social media was as tough as it was fantastic, because I think you and I were trying to keep people's spirits up, and it was all about looking after everyone. If you could, over your phone and Facebook and Instagram and social media, it was all about communicating in that way. And I think that was great too. I think in COVID, a lot of people said, thank God for Facebook, Instagram, and Netflix, because it really made mentally people get through a lot of their days with fitness and health.
Yeah, spot on. And the gratitude piece is huge. I was speaking, with my business partners today, and it's something that we take so seriously, is being in a state of gratitude. And, no matter how bad it gets, there is always a coming out on the other side, and there is that, ability to move through it and come out the other side, stronger for it. There's so many cliches, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And, I think gratitude is the number one, is such a good piece there. And, I remember being in Melbourne and the energy was so horrible. I was working at the local cafe, making coffees, and I was really fortunate that work kept going for me throughout. And, you'd see people and everyone was so down, and, and rightly so, they were down. But it was those small things, the morning coffee was like a universal just blessing for everyone. It was like the only thing you could leave the house and go do was, okay, I'm going to go get my morning coffee. And so, I think that when you can take the smallest of things and like a cup of coffee and just be grateful for it, it helps maintain resilience through such difficult periods like we've all come out of. And fingers crossed we don't ever have to go back towards what we experienced last year. How did you maintain that mentality for your kids? Or how did you go with homeschooling and all those sorts of things? But more importantly, how were your kids through it? You've got Duke and Stella that you mentioned, 13 and 11 years old. Connection for them is everything. I remember being a kid and seeing my mates every day and going to school was so much fun. How did you, as I said, you're 42. How do you instill a lifetime of building resilience into, your 13 and 11-year-old?
Yeah, they're good questions. It was communication day to day, checking if they're okay. I mean, your families generally, 99% people live for with your health and mental health and physical health. So it was also communicating. I think with kids, importantly, what is every other kid's going through this. So, they've got to be at home doing homeschooling. So it was getting them mentally to say, you're not missing out. It's just unfortunately a bad situation in the world, but we're going to get through it, and giving them an end goal. So for Belle and I, it was always, we just got to survive together and get through this. And I think for most people in their families, and same with our work, let's just do what we can control. So it was communication with them. The homeschooling was tough. I mean, it was tough. And for some people it was easy, but some people it was tough. So I'll give an example. Belle left school at 14 to be a hairdresser apprentice. I think her dad had passed away when she was young. So she left school at year 9, and I was still busy working from home. So it was tough for us to do homeschooling as Duke and Stella. But we're lucky in that they were an age that they were fairly independent. I really feel sorry for some of the parents that had kids in prep grade 1 and 2, because their focus levels would have been different to, say, kids from, say, grade 3 and 4 in the early teens. So we just stayed positive. We stuck together. We were guided by the school and the professionals. It was just, consistently reminding ourselves that there's people suffering, COVID, but there's people suffering cancer. There's people that don't have food. It was just that reminder, gratitude. If we'd have a meal together, how lucky we are. There's people that can't afford to pay rent. And it was just really, and the amount of people, I mean, I'm no millionaire, but the amount of people I helped, I did help financially and just mentally, and phone calls and messages. I think my fingers now I need so many magnesium tablets, because I think that's a combination of work, but just try to help. I think karma is a great life. And you just give so much. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. Also, it's such a great feeling to help someone else as well. Like, it's actually, obviously the act of doing something for someone else and helping someone else is great for the other person, but it also can be a selfish thing to do. Like, I'm helping you because you know what, it makes me feel, I'm so grateful. I've got all this stuff around me. Let me help you out. And it makes you feel good because, that the connection piece to human beings is so important. And the way that we feel connected is through, a two-way relationship. I can help you out when you need help. You can help me when I need help. And
That's what really forms the basis of, deep and meaningful relationships. I've
That's what humans should do for each other.
Yeah. I've battled away in my early 20s with, working just, part-time jobs. And there are moments when I'm visiting friends up in Sydney or they're visiting me and the cash is a bit low and they're like, mate, don't worry, I've got you this weekend. And then same thing for me when they come visit me or I go visit them and cash is a bit low for them. It's like, mate, don't worry, I've got you this weekend. So, that's what forms,
It's stressful.
Your best mates.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and you know what? Money comes and goes, but health and family and friends and love and just trying to give everyone. I just think we're humans. We're not animals. We're humans, and humans are there for each other. And I really felt COVID brought the reality of things, the bigger picture life back. As bad as it was, and tough as it was, I really think there was so many positives that came out of it. It wasn't a good thing, but I think it really brought the human race a lot tighter than it had been for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a big difference that I see in Australian culture to American culture was Australians really banded together. And now that I'm in America, there's so much division over here, whether it's politically or socially or culturally. There's just, it's not as,
especially in LA. I noticed
especially in LA. Yeah, but we've got the mateship culture. Look after your neighbours and all that sort of thing. So it's definitely been interesting for me coming to America and seeing, I guess, the difference. Albeit we are further down along the pandemic, and people are, rightly or wrongly so, they're impatient and they're ready to get back to normal life, whatever that looks like. So I do.
That would have been refreshing for the Americans to have a great young Aussie come over there, mate, just smiling and beaming. And when I grew up, the greatest Australian, I think, for the Americans was a guy named Paul Hogan, who was Crocodile Mick Dundee. And I reckon you were probably too young. I don't know if you remember him, but they would have just seen you, and I reckon you would have lifted their spirits up. That's probably your dad, Big Paul Bruiser, is one of the great Fitzroy Sydney footballers' favourite movie.
It is. I think I watched it with Dad actually too. The Crocodile Dundee, and he goes, "What's the famous quote? You call that a knife? That's not a knife. This is a knife." That's one of my favourite lines from that movie, I think. And
human spirit was a big thing. I think just pumping people up. I mean, I'm not a fitness trainer, but I was just trying to do things like the push-ups for suicide prevention and mental health. The amount of people that I saw do that, which was inspiring on social media, was phenomenal. People that you'd never do it. The amount of people I saw come out and get fit, you just had to do it. It was survival mode, and you just had to do your best.
Spot on, mate. What drives your passion for mental health and mental illness awareness?
Yeah, mine is definitely a couple of things. Obviously, co-founding the Love Me, Love You Foundation with Lance and his mum and Luke Livingston was a big thing for us 10 years ago. Look, probably a couple of triggers from when I was young was a good friend of mine committed suicide when I was 21. Mark Mercury played this. It was his younger brother, Rob, and I was sort of close with him. We weren't best mates, but close enough, and it affected me. And my mum had breast cancer 5-10 years ago, and I saw how tough it was for her and my dad mentally as well. So I sort of remember how hard it was for them. Then obviously Lance had some personal issues, and he had mental illness growing up. So and I just remember seeing kids be bullied when I was young. I grew up in a sort of tough time. And so I had some tough circumstances myself. So, mate, that's just, it's just, I think, naturally wanting to help people mentally and not let them go through anything like that. My sister's a psychologist, and just got great awareness and lucky to be positive and naturally have a good heart and want to see people be okay.
And what drives the positivity for you? Like when people say, just be positive, mate, or get through it and all these sorts of things. And we see, even siblings grow up in the same household and they turn out so different, right? Why is it important for you to maintain, positivity? Anyone who's met you will, your attitude and the way you carry yourself is infectious. What keeps you going, or what keeps that fire alive inside of you?
You know what? It's family and friends, obviously, but I see things like, Now, you just have to watch the news, and unfortunately, they'll put 10 seconds of it, but you'll see countries that have, war and planes bombing each other and things like that, and you just see bodies with blood. You see people starving in Africa and growing up, and you just think, what have we got to complain about? Yeah. Why are we whinging? Why are we backstabbing each other? Why are we being so cruel? It's just the gratitude to have a good, healthy lunch in such a fantastic country. You should be up and about every day and not be a hater and not be a whinger and not be a negative person. So, I remember my grandfather sort of telling me, he died 5 years ago, great guy, came over with a suitcase when he was 15. When he passed away, he had probably $10 million worth of property that he left to his kids, which is my dad and Uncle Nani. And I just remember him telling me a story that, he got here, he had to sleep in a hostel, had to go to the Australian Army, but because he wasn't an Aussie, he had to work with the doctors and nurses and the medical. And I just think we've got a great life. So put food on the table. So that's the thing. It's just gratitude, and actually people need to think to themselves, what are you complaining about? We're not getting. We're not in a war like our grandparents and parents were. You think of the poor people that grew up in the 40s and 50s that got sent to war. So it's a great recognition is Anzac Day, and for many people now, it was over 100 years ago. So it's just really thinking about life and acknowledging how lucky we are.
Yeah. What you're saying brings a quote to mind, which is hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And it's something that I've noticed massively with the work that I'm doing. And it is a lack of resilience in probably my generation. I'm not sure necessarily if it's still lingering a little bit in your generation, but and I feel bad for my generation and those.
What are you now, Dilsey? 28?
So I'm 26, 27 this year.
26.
But what I found is that
I think the beards age you a bit, but you're right. I think
it does give you a few
20
years.
to 40, 20 to mid 40s definitely don't have the resilience as late 40s plus. No, without a doubt, because we grew up in easier times. Yeah. And I just think that's organic. So it's about trying to fix that now.
Yeah. And it is about having those conversations going, guys, you're going to be okay. You can get through this. Letting kids make mistakes is a big one. Let them make mistakes because they're going to be okay. And then they're going to learn from them, and then they're going to become more resilient as a result. If you're constantly, 100%. I think the new term now for the new parents is, the old one was the helicopter parent, the one that was always hovering around and fucking around.
Yeah, I was like that with Duke and Stella till they were 3, but not anymore.
I think that's for survival. You let them play when they're under 3 and something might happen. But now
they're calling 100%.
Now they're calling them lawnmower parents because they're not even hovering. They're just straight through. They're in the kids' lives. They're taking over. They're not letting them make mistakes, fall over. There's a great psychologist by the name of Jordan Peterson, and in one of his books that I've read, I think it's the last chapter, and it's something along the lines of, let the boys skateboard, and it's essentially going, let boys fall over, hurt themselves, scrape their knees, do all those things, because it builds you up. Those sorts of things do build you up, and when you don't go through something as simple as falling off your skateboard, you get to 18, 19, 20, you get stuck in the real world, and it's a massive shock to the nervous system. It's like you get absolutely
100%
floored, right? Like, and then something like
100%.
COVID happens, and it's it's the first time anyone your age has had to go through something like this, because I'm trying to think, you had in the 70s, you had the Vietnam War, early 2000s with the GFC. You were probably too young back then. What's that? That's 15 years ago now. So you were probably still cruising around, acting like a hooligan, drinking in the streets of Essendon, causing trouble. But now you get to, your first real, crisis mode. And you saw, I'm sure you saw it a lot within your own industry. People, either rose above it or they got suffocated by the stress of what's happened over the last
100%. Yeah, sorry, I kept moving that. 100%. I saw a lot of people break or get close to breaking, and a lot of people elevate. It was weird, but it was, you just wanted everyone to be okay.
Yeah.
It was interesting times. It was tough times, and a lot of people split. A lot of people had made them stronger, whether they were couples or businesses or friends.
Yeah.
It was a really change in our world, and we weren't trained for any of this.
No.
And resilience is really important.
Yeah, and it's such a
and that's one thing that's one thing I'm focusing with Duke and Stella as a parent, and obviously with colleagues as well.
Yeah.
But we didn't have, I look back now and say, how could I manage it better? So if it happens again, would I have more support, not worked as hard, and not especially my team, like some of my team members found it hard with the workload they had to do, the stress of vendors, because vendors are stressed out because being in real estate, their biggest asset was on the line. And they were stressed out. If another lockdown, they're going to be financially broke and the banks are going to take off. So it was really stressful time. So, even myself, I learned a lot from that. As not just kids to learn by mistakes, but as an adult. What mistakes did I make in late 2020? How can I get better? So I think everyone should just have that mindset, whether they're young and old. And we've obviously got to educate our youngsters, and something I'm trying to do as a parent as best as possible.
Well, self-reflection is so important to then gain self-awareness, right? That's how you become more self-aware, is by reflecting back on past decisions. And, we're big on meditating and journaling. But how do you go about motivating a team to stay more resilient? Because no one was prepared for it. So it's all, it's great to be able to prepare people for something. Okay, guys, we're going to work on our resilience for the next 12 months because there's a pandemic coming up in 2020, right? That'd be great if we all had 12 months notice.
Yeah, correct.
So how do you actually, as a business owner, a business leader, how do you build resilience in your other team members?
It's a tough one. There's always just educating them and saying, make sure you're doing, firstly, it's I try to say to my team, make sure your nutrition's good. Is your fitness and health good? There's only so much from a sort of ethical part you can say, but making sure, are you eating well? Are you fit and healthy? How's your mindset? How's your home life? Are you okay financially? Because financial stress will bring stress in life, and that will help their resilience to be a bit more independent, start thinking like that, so become independent and strong. So, and it's just sticking together as a team, but it's also saying we're on it together. Communication was a great thing. I know with Marshall White, that they really, it was my first year as a director last year. I think I'd sort of become a director at the end of 2019. And I had to learn a lot early. And during that, I was so impressed at how great the leaders were. John, Jack, James, Andrew, Marcus and Leonard and guys like that. Simon Jovanovic, our CEO, Paul Gregory, how impressive they were to help run it. And it just sort of snowballed. So, because a lot of people were struggling, it was tough times. So it's a tough one. It's really about telling them that you've got to be independent and resilient, but also they've got support. So if they do make a mistake, they know they're okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've got to apologise about my kid today. It's a Friday here in Melbourne, Victoria. I know it's Thursday night. I think it's in Hawaii where you are, lucky man. And mate, Friday day for me is no tie because auction day tomorrow. And I'm shooting a property video today, and I'm sort of getting mixed up with suits. And my lovely wife, Belle, said, you haven't worn that jacket in the video for a while. And one thing back to real estate, how real estate's changed is I've been doing a lot of property videos. Yeah. And that's helped me too. Technology has been great for Zoom meetings and businesses. But back to real estate has been phenomenal because people really get to experience the house and they get to watch it from their iPad or they get to watch it from this.
Yeah. Well, mate, I think you looked impeccable as always. And I'm looking forward to see some more property videos from you where you strut that big barrel chest of yours. Who was your mate that actually did the impression of you? That was very funny.
It was actually, it was mate. I've copped, and I know, mate, there's always the haters out there, but
keep doing you, mate. It's signature. It's the signature Matt Pillios.
Exactly. You've got to be yourself. Can I just say the main thing about how I started that walk was COVID. I actually lost. I started eating toast and carbs and stuff I generally don't eat, and got off the juices. And mate, I put on about 4 kilos, and my suits are generally really custom made. So they were
Is that what you call them? Custom made? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So
fitting.
Godwin Charlie in Melbourne custom makes it, mate. I could not move. So I was
Yeah.
walking like that. And, mate, I was just that energetic to be up and about.
Yeah.
So, mate, I remember Jack Rewald just laughing at me, mate. He's even done this sort of strut. But the guy who did it the other week was the Sushi Mango comedians. You got to watch these guys, Andrew Cullen and Joe. Sushi Mango spelled SOOSHI. I think I sort of Instagrammed your thing once. They travel the world now. They're 3 Melbourne boys. Yeah. And he actually, for him to say, man, these guys got a couple, 250,000 followers. They've got 2 million on YouTube. Sat with him at a wedding. He goes, Matty, Joe Salinici, he goes, Matt, I love watching your property videos. I said, what? He goes, I'm telling you, because I said I love watching your stuff. At night time when I switch off at 9:30, I sort of watch a bit of your Super Mango with some UFC. And he goes, mate, I watch your property videos. He goes, I just wait for the walk. And I just couldn't believe it. And he had a couple of drinks. I was sober, and he started doing it. So, mate, one thing I remember that stood out at real estate conferences was to be memorable. And the walk is not. I pride myself on getting great results from my clients and a good experience and being honest and transparent. But it's just something that's stood out, I think, to the general public.
It has, absolutely. Who you got? So you mentioned the commentating then as well, and UFC. What number are we up to? UFC 259 is on the weekend. Is that right? So you love
love the UFC.
Who you got winning the heavyweight bout on the weekend? I don't know how to pronounce their names. Rosen Stewart, I think it is, versus Gain. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, Rosenberg. That's right there. He's the guy that lost to Nagano. Look, I've probably, because I've been so busy, I think Rosenberg. But the thing with heavyweights is they both got heavy hands. Anyone can win it at any time. But I think Rosenberg will probably win it. I'm actually doing.
Do you have plans to step in the ring?
No, mate, I'm too old. One thing I wish I did was I would have got probably destroyed, but I did a lot of boxing training and boxercise when I was young, in between footy seasons, and got in a lot of scraps in the local footy field. Lost a lot, but probably because I played in the EDFL back in the day, and I was an average footballer. Division 1 and Division 2, but Maribor on my side of Moonee Valley crossed over. So I got in a lot of fights because I got so fit and so strong in about my early 20s. I'd say go and tag the VFL, AFL players that had come down from AFL, VFL. So you go tag, and I'd roughen up. I was just as fit, strong, and they'd hate me because they had this bloke's actually strong physically. And mate, but I couldn't play. I wasn't a great footballer. So but it got me in fights all the time. So no, I'm definitely not. I think I'm too old and be very unprofessional. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
You are a lover, not a fighter, exactly. Mate, I know you're a busy man, so I will let you go. I know you've got a few $1 million houses to sell today and over the weekend to prepare for. You mentioned the Love Me, Love You Foundation briefly, mate. For those, struggling and those that don't know what that is, can you give us, just before you go, a brief outline of what the Love Me, Love You Foundation is, and then also where they can get in contact? Yeah.
Perfect. I missed that. It sort of froze for 10.
Yeah, we're freezing up a little bit.
But an absolute privilege to us.
Got ya. I've got ya. There you are. You're back.
Yeah. I was saying, I hope everyone in the US is okay.
Thank you.
Mate, from one Aussie to another, give all the Americans our best, and everyone's thinking of them from here. I know they're doing it a lot tougher in Europe and America than in Australia from a health point.
Appreciate that, mate.
Absolute privilege to be here. Wake up every day saying how lucky we are to be in this great country and to be around great people, and no complaints, mate. Looking forward to just loving and beating the hard thing they call life, which we're so privileged to be in.
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
And thanks, mate, for lending me your shirt and pocket square, Dylan. You're a superstar.
Anytime,
you're
mate.
looking amazing, mate.
Thanks for jumping on, Matty, and I'll be sure to link everyone the Love Me, Love You Foundation stuff. If you reach out, it's a great organisation run by Matt Pillios and Lance Petoni and a few other awesome people. I've done the walk last year. I'm looking forward to getting back and doing the walk again, mate, whenever it's running. But thank you. Appreciate your time,
If
mate.
this goes up before Sunday, March the 28th, Love Me, Love You Foundation, Dilsey, has got their annual March with Me. It's our biggest event of the year. Awesome. 5 kilometres, 15, 30 or 45. You don't have to be fit to do it. It's just a normal walk. Nobody ever travels their journey alone, or nobody should ever travel their journey alone. Is the Love Me, Love You Foundation. So mental health and suicide prevention, we're all here in it together. And the amount of people that reach out is phenomenal. So thanks for promoting that. And once again, thanks for having me.
Love that, mate. I'll be sure to chuck that in the notes. Cheers. Thank you.